Welcome back, everyone, to Double Take, an NFL podcast streaming everywhere you get podcasts and also on YouTube. It's been a while, but I'm back, your host, David Gonzalez, and I'm joined by my co-host and twin brother, Daniel. How are you, man?
Dude, football is tomorrow, and I cannot be more excited for it. Like, my day is going to surround just waiting around. Hopefully, I'll work from home and just spend the day just getting ready for the new season. Can't wait.
Yeah, football's back. My schedule is going to be a little bit different because I'm a student pastor, so Wednesday nights are always super busy. Thursday, I'm talking to our high school football team at their dinner,
Hey,
and
still
then I
football
get
related.
to watch some football. It is football related. I'm excited. High school football is back too, which I love. High school football. I love
great
going to
warm-up.
games and stuff like that.
Great warm-up.
And so to be surrounded by football again and to be back at NFL football again, I mean, it's all about the Dallas Cowboys this year.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm super pumped, super excited for the regular season and the opener of it. We're about to get into a lot of news. We're going to do our pick'em segment to where we predict the outcome of every single game, and we're going to keep track of that every single week to see out of the two of us, who's better at picking them. So it's a cool segment that we tried last year, but we weren't really consistent at it. But what we were trying to be consistent this year in our
what was consistent
season.
was that I had the best picks. That was what was consistent. So
Savage will probably give you a run for his money. We're gonna have him.
He's
on the
pretty
show.
good at picking games.
And so, anyway, let's go ahead and start with our warm-up segment. And this warm-up segment is going to be just a really fun conversation about probably our favorite sports shows that we listen to, our debate shows, and feel free to comment whether you like these shows or not. Love your opinion on it.
Would love your opinion.
We're pitting Undisputed, the new Undisputed versus First Take. And just to kind of give you a background about what has changed in the show, Shannon Sharp has left Undisputed and he has gone now to First Take. Skip Bayless has a new team of debaters. It's not just one person anymore. He's changed his format. So now joining him on his show on Undisputed is Keyshawn Johnson, Richard Sherman, and Michael Irvin. And this week was the start, or I guess last week was the start of the new Undisputed format. But Daniel, just give me your thoughts. Which show have you enjoyed more so far?
First Take by far. I think there is something to be said about just having two people debate. Maybe at the most three if you bring in a guest for that particular subject. But there is something special about the two-person format. The thing that I hate about Undisputed now is the fact that there's so many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many voices. One of them is Michael Irvin, and everyone loves Michael Irvin. He's Irv. He's one of the greatest receivers of all time. He's a terrible fit for that show. He talks too much.
Yeah.
Talks too much, gets animated about just the smallest thing that's not worth. Like, I understand if you're trying to do it for entertainment value, to give people something to like, oh man, that was so cool when he did that. I'm not getting that because he does that every single time. And it's annoying. And it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
And then there's something about Richard Sherman's voice that I just don't like. I just don't like his voice. It's just not it doesn't sound good. His regular speaking voice does not sound good. And then Keyshawn, I think Keyshawn, I like him. He's just not, his personality is not big enough for me. Because all I think about is like, oh, it's the receiver on ESPN 2K5 that you trade in the first year. Anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about? Greatest football game ever made, ESPN 2K5 on Xbox. And that's all I remember him from, because after his initial stint in New York and Tampa, like he's mediocre. And so, and then Skip has been relegated to just a over-glorified moderator. That's how I feel about it. because
Mm.
he's introducing subjects. He's kind of breaking up fight, and he barely says anything. And when he does, they all jump on him. So it's not entertaining to watch unless you like the yelling matches and all that. So Undisputed for me, I haven't watched it since maybe the first week. I haven't watched much of anything because to me it's not appealing to me.
Mm.
But for the sake of like keeping up with opinions and stuff and making sure like, hey, what if it gets better? I may tune in to watch it. But first take for the past 2 days has been great. I do think, and I agree with what David said. So, but I won't mention it now. I agree with David's opinion about what Shannon Sharp is, what he's revealing about Stephen A. Smith. Um, that's valid and that's true, but it's still very entertaining. What I don't
Mm-hmm.
like about Stephen A is the fact that he thinks that he's right. And so he immediately tries to invalidate your argument by just being like, you're wrong, or like going along the lines of like, well, you get beat every time, like you lose every time. Which like I
Mm-hmm.
get trying to be confident and trying to show like your prowess, but there's times like Stephen A, you have no idea what you're talking about. You do lose arguments, and fairly often, especially against people who have the time to spend on subjects. And I think the thing he's going to find out about Shannon Sharp is not only does he do it with football, but he does it with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen A is an aficionado about basketball, not football. But what Shannon does is he's an aficionado on everything because he
Mm-hmm.
puts the effort into it. And so I think that's what we're going to see when we get to basketball, football, when they start meshing and overlapping each other. He's going to have a hard time trying to balance those things. Shannon is not. But those are my initial thoughts on the difference between the two shows.
Yeah, so I'm someone who's currently watching both. Like I watch Undisputed and then I watch First Take and then I also watch Speak on FS1 as well with Emmanuel Acho, Joy Taylor, Shady McCoy, and I'm hoping that Dave Hellman will come back because he brings something different. I also liked it when Slick the Rick Bucher or however
Oh
or
yeah,
Rick the
Rick
Slick
Bucher.
Bucher. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's also really good in the NBA season. But in terms of Undisputed, like it was a rocky start in episode 1. I mean, because you were absolutely right. They were talking over each other. Skip like that in 2 words, I think, in the first segment. But then as the show has gone
You
on,
can just even tell in his body language, like he was just like, what is
oh yeah.
going
I
on?
mean, it's
Yeah,
overwhelming. And
yeah,
you're going to expect that to happen in your first episode of actually being on air. I think since that initial episode, they've been better about especially Michael has been better about not overstepping. He still talks a little bit too much. I think I agree with you in terms of just overall he does talk too much and but I will say that like Richard Sherman uh, brings his A game every now and then. Like there's certain segments that he can absolutely talk about that he really brings it. There's some segments that Keyshawn Johnson is absolutely wrong about, um, and it's not them ganging up on Skip. It's
hmm
Skip and the rest and the other two getting on Keyshawn. And I even like thought after the first episode one of my initial thoughts is like I think Skip brought Michael Irvin onto the show so that Skip could be
He
viewed
had
as
a
the
teammate.
realistic Cowboys fan,
Yeah,
um, because Skip has his reservations, but Michael's just like the
he's
heck with
all in.
that. They're
He's
going to
all
the
in.
Super Bowl all the way,
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff,
believes
which
in
can be fun
everyone.
sometimes. But
Yeah,
when it comes to First Take, like yeah, Shannon being on that show is fantastic. There was probably the best episodes of First Take in a long time with Shannon Sharp.
yeah,
And I said that I think what Shannon brings to the show, which may be an unfortunate thing for Stephen A, is that he is so knowledgeable about the game and hits you with truth that when Stephen A comes back with his response, and it's just a bunch of pageantry. It's a bunch of entertaining. Um, like you're just like, well, Stephen A, why don't you just debate him?
Yeah.
Like, why all this fluff? Why all this pageantry? Why all this show?
Hmm.
Um, and it's because that's all he's got sometimes. And Shannon can do both. He can hit you with some truth, and then he can
Yeah.
hit you with some analogies and
Yeah, he
some
can.
metaphors and some fun stories and all this
Yeah.
kinds of stuff to make his point. Um, so the beatdown that Stephen A is getting against Shannon is always entertaining to watch because there was way too many segments, especially yesterday, to where Stephen A, after he does his pageantry and all this kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
then Shannon comes back to him, and then Stephen A is just like,
He
"Oh,
concedes. He
you're
concedes.
right, yeah." And
Yeah, he concedes. Yeah, that's true. That did happen a lot
so
yesterday. No, yeah, I
so
agree. Yeah.
that's what makes it more fun
Yeah.
watching First Take. But we'll see how Undisputed goes. I think they'll continue to be the number 2 show, because even when Shannon was on, they were still number 2
Yeah.
behind First Take. And
Mhm.
I think now with Shannon being on First Take, he's even gonna take them higher and elevate them more, and Undisputed is gonna be slowly coming from behind,
Yeah,
just at that time.
I agree.
But anyway, now to make it on to our second segment, it's actually this is now our opening segment after just our warm up segment. Is we are talking through our fantasy teams that we've put together. It's a fun new thing. Daniel and I were in a league together. Um, Daniel,
I'm not
his
playing.
team.
I'm not
Oh
playing our
yeah, he's
league. I'm not playing
yeah,
our
he's
league.
not. He just set an auto draft. So, but we're gonna break down the two teams that we actually did draft and spent
Yep.
time drafting.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and go first. This is my team that I've put together that I was able to draft. I drafted. We have 12 people in our league, and I drafted number 10. And these are the players that I got. My quarterback for this year is Dak Prescott. Um, Again, this is the timing on which I picked him. I think I picked him in like the 4th round, which makes
Do you
sense.
Is there a
Um,
way we can do this in a way where we do each of our positions?
sure.
That way we
Yeah.
can it's more of a comparison
Yeah,
because I
sure.
think it's gonna be
But where
tough
did
to.
you pick at? But you got to express where you picked at. You
I
can't
picked
just
at
be like, "Oh yeah."
I picked at 3 or 4.
How many people you have in your league?
We have 10.
Okay. So 3 or 4 is where you pick. So that's actually a pretty solid spot
It's pretty
to
yeah,
be at.
it was a great spot for me to be at. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so my quarterback's Dak. I think I picked him in the 4th round.
Okay. I picked Josh Allen. That's my quarterback.
It's a good pick. He'll put a lot of points, a lot of yards. He'll turn the ball
Mhm.
over a lot too, but still, I think it'll
Yeah, I
balance out.
know. Yeah, I think he scores
Uh,
enough and he throws for enough yards to kind of counteract that.
mhm.
But yeah,
My running backs, I'll just go ahead and tell both of them. My running backs are Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones.
same.
Is it really?
Yeah, I got Josh
I mean,
Jacobs and Aaron Jones.
yeah, Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing last year, and then with
Yep,
Aaron Jones, now that Aaron Rodgers is gone, they're going
yep.
to be relying on the ground game a lot with Jordan Love, and so I thought that was a smart pickup.
And I think the same thing for Josh Jacobs. I think with Derek Carr gone,
Mm,
they're going to be running the ball a whole lot, and so I'm
mm,
expecting Josh Jacobs to have another big year.
yeah, yeah, for sure. My receivers, I got CD Lamb, and I reached for them because I think this person's going to be a stud this year. I had George Pickens.
Um, I I went with the solidified receiver, but then I also went with a guy who's been consistent throughout his career, but he's more likely a number 2 receiver now. I went with Tyreek and with Tyler Lockett as my 1-2.
Mm, yeah. So I think Tyler Lockett will be better this year because I think with Geno Smith now being in his second full year of starting, he's going to be a lot more comfortable in this offense.
Yeah,
I've had Tyler Lockett before, and he wasn't doing it for me. Like he would have a good week 1 week, and then he'd be
yeah,
off for 3 weeks.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see
I'm
how
hoping
he
for
does
about I'm hoping
this
for a
year.
bounce back season is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Okay. So for my tight end, I got Darren Waller from the Giants.
Same.
Um, if he could be healthy,
Yeah.
he could
Yeah.
be a stud. Now,
Yeah.
there are some concerns that I have because of who his quarterback is. Daniel Jones has to actually throw him the ball. But even if he just throws a little flat route and Darren Waller can
Exactly.
just
I don't
take
think
off
that's
and
why I
run with
picked him.
it.
That's why I picked him. I said the chances of Daniel Jones throwing it down the field consistently versus rather than giving it to Saquon or to Darren Waller, I think the pickup is going to help Daniel Jones a lot. And I
Mhm.
think that's going to create a lot of targets for him. And so
Right.
I went with Darren Waller too. So,
Yeah. Yeah. For my flex, I have a couple of options for my flex. Here's just a couple of guys that I picked up that can switch in and out of that.
yeah,
I got DeAndre Swift from the Eagles, the running back.
that's
I
good.
got Brandon Cooks from the Cowboys,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have Zay Flowers from the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay. So we're just on the same wavelength. Um, because in my starting flex is Brandon Cooks.
hmm
I just think him and from what we've heard from camp and from all that we've seen, Brandon Cooks and Dak have a wavelength, which is great.
hmm
And then, and for me, Brandon Cooks in the slot is a way better target than Michael Gallup out wide. That's just me.
hmm
But with that, when Brandon Cooks is out, I have a kind of a mixture as well of like Zay Jones from
hmm
Jacksonville and Tyler
Yeah.
Boyd from Cincinnati. And so I think they'll give me enough in the week where Brandon Cooks is not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I feel that for sure. And for my kicker and my defense, I got Evan Pearson from the Bengals, and my defense is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, so my kicker's the same. I got McPherson too. And my defense is the 49ers defense.
Mm, it's a good defense. Dang,
It's a
dude, your
great
team's pretty
defense.
good.
Dude,
Yeah.
my team is good. I made one mistake in my fantasy draft.
Okay.
I took Kirk Cousins. He has the
Mm.
same bye week as Josh Allen.
So you're gonna have to pick up somebody
So
else.
I did. I picked up Jared Goff.
Okay, that's a good pick.
Yeah. And so and
Yeah, my
my backup defense is the Jets.
wow, dude. Wow.
So I
My
love
backup
my team.
defense
My
is
team is
the
great.
Pittsburgh Steelers,
Yeah, that's a
and
good
my
defense.
backup quarterback is Derek Carr.
That's good. That's good. People hate
Yeah.
on Derek Carr. I don't get it, but
Yeah. I think he's gonna have a breakout year this year. I
I
think
think so too. I think he'll
he's
play
gonna
really
play
well.
extremely well.
I love that.
But those are our teams. Tell us how we did.
We would love to hear your teams. Who you got instead?
Love for you guys to drop what your teams were also. But now let's move on to news around the NFL. And we're going to spend a little bit of time here just to talk about two different things, asking two different questions, and then we'll head into our main segment, which is pick 'em.
Yep.
But first, it was the news talked all week last week, but we didn't record last week. And so we're going to talk
Mhm.
about it now, right before the NFL season. Biggest news coming out of the Dallas Cowboys is Trey Lance was traded from the San Francisco 49ers to the Cowboys for a fourth round pick.
Yeah.
Trey Lance didn't start even 8 games. I think he started maybe 4 games
Mhm.
in his entire time. Looked kind of shaky against the Las Vegas Raiders in the preseason.
Mhm.
And very shortly, we saw him traded to the Cowboys. But Daniel, talk to me about your thoughts on the trade, and also answer the question that people are going back and forth on. Is this move a threat to Dak Prescott?
From the get-go, no. Because Trey's not ready. He's not ready to start. He's not ready to play. And I think for the people who think that he's going to come in here and play this year at some point, you're dead wrong. He is not ready to play. I think what his time in San Francisco did was kind of squashed a bit of his confidence. So he's not confident right now. He couldn't
Mhm.
beat out Jimmy Garoppolo. He couldn't beat out Brock Purdy. He couldn't beat out Sam Darnold. So much so that they took only a fourth for him.
Mm-hmm.
After what they gave up to acquire him, they didn't even get any of that back.
Yeah.
Really they kind of gave him away. And so his confidence is probably not really great right now. And so if I'm Mike McCarthy, if I'm Jerry Jones, don't play him. Don't play him. For the next 2 seasons, do not play him.
Mm-hmm.
I think what this does do, though, so let me answer the question. I think I've already answered, but I'll reiterate it. He's not a threat to Dak now. He's
Mm-hmm.
not. For this season, for next season, he's not a threat. But what it does give Dallas is leverage against Dak. Only for this reason. It's been clear that Dak is kind of ready to negotiate a new deal and to get get an extension. What this does a little bit is kind of give Dallas some leverage to be like, hey man, if you don't want to stay here, we're set, we're good, we have the future. Do what you want, but we're not paying you this money. Now, Jerry's been a guy who's been known to just cave, you know, not
Mm-hmm.
really put his foot down and say, hey, we're not giving you this money. He's not known for that. So this could not work. This may not work. But I think as we sit here today and for this season, he is not a threat to Dak Prescott. He's a third string quarterback. We have Cooper Rush. Now, am I the biggest fan of Cooper Rush? No, because I think he leaves a lot on the table and doesn't
Mm-hmm.
give you the most bang for your buck. I think he gives you 20 points, he gives you a game manager, and that's it. But what that does not do, and Molly Karam tried to do this yesterday about how like, oh well,
Yeah.
Cooper
Mm-hmm.
Rush was 5-1. And it's like, Molly, it's not about that. It's about in the postseason, can he get you 30?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about. Because you're gonna face some really good offenses. If the Cowboys go to the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes is gonna score. He's gonna score his points. I'm not gonna care about if Cooper Rush went 5-1 in the regular season. I'm gonna care about, can he give me 25 to 30 points against Patrick Mahomes?
Mm-hmm.
That's what matters. And I think in the long run, Trey Lance gives you a better shot to do that than Cooper Rush. But right
Mm-hmm.
now, no. So he's not a threat to Dak Prescott in any way today.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that if anything, Trey Lance is a threat to Cooper Rush because, like you said,
Yeah.
yes, he went 5-1 in the regular season,
Mm-hmm.
averaging 20 points. Uh, had one of the bottom tier passing attacks in the NFL when
Yeah,
he's on the field.
I'm looking at his stats over the past 2 seasons. Like he went 1-1, 1-1 each of his first 2 seasons. In 2021, he completed 57.7% of his passes, 5 touchdowns,
Mhm,
2 interceptions. Last year, in the 2 games that he played in, 15 for 31, 48.4 completion percentage, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, to me, those sound like Tim Tebow stats. But the thing that we can say about Tim Tebow is he won games and he played great in the fourth quarter in the last 5 minutes whenever you needed him to.
mhm,
And Trey Lance, he's been fortunate to play with a great running attack and a
mhm.
great defense. And so, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because for Cooper Rush, like he's a decent. Actually, he's a great backup, but not a great starter. And
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think Trey Lance has a ton more potential, a ton more talent than
Way more
Cooper Rush.
upside. Yep.
And
Agreed.
so that's who really is under pressure here is that Cooper Rush has to be efficient. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even in the preseason, like especially last year's preseason, he wasn't impressive at all. He stunk up the joint. Even this, and then the little time that he got to play this preseason, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
didn't look good. I mean, Dak looked better in the preseason than Cooper Rush did, and Dak was calling plays in that final preseason game. Okay, so there's no threat to Dak Prescott here. I don't even think in the future. I think you're probably right about the leverage, but that is also predicated on Trey Lance developing well. That's not just on them being able to
Wait,
say,
wait, wait, wait. Did you say that Cooper Rush didn't play great in the preseason?
yeah,
Well, hold on. You keep making your point. I think I'm looking to see how he did this preseason.
okay, that's all
But
right.
keep going. Keep going.
But now I'm trying to remember where I was. You kind of threw me
Sorry.
off there.
Sorry.
But
You
oh
said
shoot, what
you
was I
you
saying?
you were saying how you were talking about Cooper Rush and how Dak Prescott.
Oh no. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Trey Lance, the only way that the Cowboys have leverage for like against Dak Prescott, it's all predicated on Trey Lance actually developing as a potential, not just starting quarterback, but he has to be better than Dak. He
Mm-hmm.
he can't just be like, oh, he's coming along. No, he has to be like, Dak, if you left, if you're not here in the building, Trey Lance can do what you're doing, and he can do more than what you're doing. Like that
Mm.
has to be what they're telling him. Just being on the roster isn't enough. Especially like you're saying, like right now, Trey Lance being in the building isn't enough to scare Dak Prescott. It just isn't. You're paying him over $40 million a season, annually, to be your starting quarterback, and Dak has a resume. Whether you
Mm-hmm.
want to say that he doesn't have enough playoff wins, he still has more than Trey Lance. Even if you want to say that, he hasn't done enough, it doesn't have enough Pro Bowls, it doesn't have many All Pros, he still has more than Trey Lance. Like
Mm-hmm.
Trey Lance has so much that he has to prove
Yeah.
to be better than Dak Prescott that it's overwhelming. That
Mm-hmm.
I think what makes more sense is if someone came out, someone was like on the trade block, and like someone impossible. Like I'm trying to think of who would come available. Let's say
Someone
like, but
who's
let's say
not
Zach
too big.
Wilson. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's say Zach Wilson. Okay, he's developed into especially under Aaron Rodgers. He's developed into a pretty good quarterback. Let's say next year he looks extremely good, uh, and the Cowboys are just like, you know, Zach Wilson. He's young. He's not going to ask for a big contract. Could he replace Dak Prescott? Like that's more believable to me than like Trey Lance being the future of like when people say that Trey Lance could be the future of the Dallas Cowboys, I'm like, how? Where do you see that? Like that's something that he's going to have to prove in the preseason for sure.
Yeah.
And then there has to be a scenario to where Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush go down and you find a reason to insert Trey Lance. Um, and which with Dak's history of injuries, especially of the last couple of years, like that might be a possibility. Like you might see that happen.
Yeah.
And then
I
Cooper
think
Rush against a good defense will struggle, and then you will
right.
just be like, all right, Trey, let's see what you can do next year. But not
Yeah.
this season, but maybe next year. That's a scenario.
I think what will help Trey Lance is playing and practicing against one of the best defenses in the league.
He was already doing that in San Francisco.
Well, he was hurt a whole lot of that time. Like both of the years he was hurt for a while, and even then he wasn't the scout team quarterback. Um
Um,
and so now he is the scout team quarterback. He's most likely going to do that for 2 years. And I think a lot of people believe that he's probably better than Zach Wilson is because of his size and his athletic ability and his arm strength. And
mhm.
I think that's what kind of has people like, okay, he could do it someday, probably more than bringing someone in, you know. But I do think that he has a lot to prove
Yeah, he does.
and he has a lot of time to do that. So I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, now moving on to our second one, we have two of the best defensive players in the National Football League who are currently holding out, wanting new contracts. One of them being Nick Bosa from the San Francisco 49ers, and then also Chris Jones for the Kansas City Chiefs. Daniel, who do you think is going to be the biggest loss for their team?
I I think it's a tough question for me to answer for sure because I know Nick Bosa is very important to that 49ers defense, but that offense will continue to hum without him. And they got a
Mhm.
lot of I mean, they got Fred Warner. They got a pretty good, not the
They
best
just got
secondary, but
Hargrave from the Eagles.
exactly. And so
Armstead.
I think they have enough without Nick for a little bit to continue to be a great defense. With Kansas City, I'm trying to remember names on that defense besides Chris Jones. But my reason why I'm not as worried is because of Patrick Mahomes. Like Patrick Mahomes covers a lot, and he did cover a lot for a while. But so I think it is Kansas City. Now that I'm kind of processing, talking it out, I think it is Kansas City, just because like I know how important he is to that defense. And Shannon said it. He's the only guy that you don't have to scheme for him to go get the quarterback. He can just go get him. And he plays the run extremely well. And so, with all that to say, kind of putting together, like David, you threw out names like getting Hargrave, having Armstead, having Fred Warner there. They have a bunch of Pro Bowl players, all pro guys. I think it's Kansas City that's going to have a tougher time figuring it out without Chris Jones. Luckily, they have the best quarterback in the league
Mhm.
to kind of help with that. But
Yeah.
to say that that's not going to make a difference or is not hurting them the most, I think they are. They will hurt the most from it.
Yeah, and to me, this was an easy question. It's obviously Kansas City. That 49ers defense, they're f- they're a defense full of studs, like in the
Mm-hmm.
secondary and their linebackers and their D line. Other than Nick Bosa, man, they've got studs to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Kansas City, Chris Jones is all they have. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
all they have. They don't have anybody else. That defense was average, I would say, just
Yeah.
average. Um, And we kind of saw that in the Super Bowl. Like we saw that. Like Jalen Hurts is a stud himself. That
Yeah, but
that
they did
Eagles
whatever they
offense
wanted.
was lights
Yeah.
out. One of the
Yeah.
best offensive line in the NFL.
Yep.
Great wide receivers, Miles
Mm-hmm.
Sanders, and then you have Jalen Hurts leading that offense. Who this was not a fluke year. He is a top 5, top 3 NFL quarterback.
Yep.
Um, and so you look at Kansas City's defense, and with Chris Jones, they got points hung up on them in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Like they still almost lost the game. Still,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, they did great in the second half, but they still gave up a bunch of yards and a bunch of points, all that
And
kind of
it
stuff. So you're telling
and
me that this defense without Chris Jones, I
is
get it.
not it's not a bigger loss than
Patrick
Nick
Mahomes is going to
Bosa.
do his thing. I mean, it's not. And when we're talking about like Mahomes is going to put up his points, he's going to do his thing, but can Mahomes put up 40 every single game? Like what if he doesn't put up? Can the defense show up for at least a game without Chris Jones? I don't see it happening. I just don't.
I
It's like every single
yeah.
game that they're going to be in is going to be a shootout. And he's not going to Patrick Mahomes, as much as he's the greatest quarterback of all time, he's not going to win every single one of them. He's just
Yeah.
not. And so
Yeah.
that's why I think he's the biggest loss for his team.
I agree. Yep. So true.
But let's head into our main segment, our pick'em games for week 1. Let's go ahead and let's start with Detroit versus Kansas City. Daniel, who do you have in this game?
I think you're right. That this I feel like this might be a shootout with Detroit and Kansas City. But I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes because he is undefeated on opening day, and so I'm going to take Kansas
Dang.
City in this.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Kansas City in a close one. I think just Mahomes is
Hmm.
just gonna be lights out. I think Detroit's defense is better, but it's still not great, at least what
Yeah.
we've seen so far. Especially, but they finished the season strong. So I think this game's gonna be really close. I think this is gonna be a true test for Chiefs defense to prove people wrong. But
Hmm.
I think that Mahomes is going to get the better of Jared Goff this time around. Because remember, they had a shootout when Goff was still with the Rams, and it was
Yeah.
Mahomes' basically his rookie year, but
Yeah.
really his second year in the year, first year starting.
Hmm.
And Jared Goff was able to overcome him, and especially with Patrick Mahomes' turnovers. But I think Mahomes gets the better of him, and I think that the Chiefs win for week one.
I agree.
Now,
Yeah.
week two, you have Atlanta, or not week two, game two. You have Atlanta and Carolina. So you got Bryce Young again, Desmond Ritter. Daniel, who do you take in this game?
I'm taking Bryce. I like Bryce. I think he showed me a little something in the preseason. Like he's calm, cool, collected, can deliver the ball accurately down the field. And so I'm gonna take him over Desmond Ritter for sure. But I do like B. John Robinson. Um, I think he's a great pickup for Atlanta. And for a team that doesn't have really a solid quarterback, he's gonna
Mhm.
prove big for them. But I do think Bryce Young will pull out the victory.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to pick against Carolina, especially with all the work that they did in the offseason and basically constructing this new team around Bryce Young.
Yep.
I mean, you get someone like Miles Sanders to run the football for you, and he's a stud. Ah, man, this is just hard for me because I don't know what Desmond Ritter, who he is.
What he
You
can
have
do, yeah.
Bijan Robinson, you have Kyle Pitts, you have Drake London on the outside for your receiver. But there's just so many question marks about Desmond Ritter, and I feel more confident in Bryce Young. And so I'm going to
Yeah.
go with the Carolina Panthers as well in this
And
matchup.
obviously things can change. Like I think week one will give us a good idea of what teams could be.
Hmm.
But again, n- like Stephen A, like our picks are fluid. Our opinions
Yeah,
on teams
right.
are fluid.
I feel like this one's going to be a pretty easy pick. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but CJ Stroud going against Lamar Jackson in week one. This one's pretty simple. I got
Yeah.
Lamar
Same.
Jackson winning it. You just get a big contract. You have this new offense and this new team, and you're going against a Houston team. While D'Amico Ryans, I'm excited for him and what he's going to do with this Houston team,
Hmm.
and excited for CJ Stroud. Saw him in the college football playoffs just be an absolute stud against Georgia. But this is going to be it's going to be some growing pains here,
I think so
and
too.
especially
Yeah.
with a team that's supposed to be in the playoffs. Baltimore wins it pretty easily.
I agree. I don't need to say much about that.
All right, so the next game, this one's going to be a good game. Deshaun Watson versus Joe Burrow, Cincinnati
Are we
versus
are we
Cleveland.
sure Joe is gonna play?
I don't know. He's questionable. I don't know. Let's just give our picks if
Okay.
he like either way. Like
Okay. Okay.
let's if Joe Burrow's playing, who do you think
He's
is going to
win.
win? If he's
He
not playing,
wins.
who's going to win?
If Joe plays, they win. If he doesn't, Deshaun Watson will win. That's how I'm kind of picking it right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably go the same way.
I'm expecting Deshaun Watson to have some semblance of a bounce back year.
Mhm,
Not playing football for over 700 days. You can definitely tell that last season. And
mhm.
so, but I do expect them to bounce back, have a good year. So if Joe Burrow does not play, Deshaun will be enough to pull out that game.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. I like that too. Um, now you got the rookie Anthony Richardson versus Trevor Lawrence. Okay, so Indianapolis versus Jacksonville. Daniel, I feel like I already know who you're gonna pick, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna agree with you.
yeah, I'm gonna go with Trevor Lawrence. I've heard great things about Anthony Richardson, which is already surprising to me, just based on what he did and what he didn't do at Florida. And
Hmm.
so I'm gonna be interested to see on how he actually does. He had some growing pains in preseason, but
Hmm.
he did have some great moments as well.
Right.
And so I'm kind of I'm hopeful that he has a good career, that he's able to kind of prove to people like, hey, I deserve to be the captain and I deserve to be in the starting spot that I'm in. And
Hmm.
so, but I still think that Indy probably has still a ways to go before they can really start being competitive in a division like that. It's not going to take much for them to be competitive.
Hmm.
But in the AFC, how it's stacked up right now, are they a playoff team? Probably not. But I'm interested to see on what Anthony Richardson does. But I'm still going with Trevor Lawrence, who I think is also going to continue to grow and develop as the top 10 quarterback that everyone thinks that he is already. And so I'm gonna go with my man Trevor.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there's much to talk about. I think Anthony just has a lot to prove, and Trevor
Yeah.
Lawrence has already proven it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, when you are able to beat Justin Herbert in the playoffs after being down by 27, I mean, this matchup should be easy for you. So
Mm.
I'm expecting them to get the win. All right, next game. It's Minnesota versus Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield's debut with the Buccaneers. Daniel, who do you think wins this one?
I'm gonna go with Minnesota. I just think that Baker, it's the same team that Tom had, and Tom struggled with this team. Ryan Jensen is out again, and most likely he's gonna retire. And so their offensive line is you're already taking a big hit because with Brady, him not having Ryan Jensen really did him a disservice.
Hmm.
And so him not having that already gone and the team constructed like it was. He has great weapons. I mean, he has Mike Evans, he has Chris Godwin. He does have that. For me, I'm picturing the fact that when they were just throwing against air, he missed receivers completely. And so for me, I cannot, especially with say what you will about Kirk Cousins, he's great in the regular season. With him and Justin Jefferson, I think that's already going to be enough and too much for Baker Mayfield to overcome in week 1.
Mm. So here are Baker Mayfield's stats in the preseason this year. He was 14 for 15, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, was clean from the pocket. I get it. It's just preseason. Um, but I
But we
think
have to
even
look at that.
those throws in training camp were an anomaly. I don't think that's the basis of who Baker Mayfield is. I think that they've looked good. I'm actually here's the thing. This is not about Kirk Cousins. This is not about Justin Jefferson. This is not about the offense. This is solely about the fact of Minnesota. Daniel Jones beat you.
Hmm.
Daniel Jones. Okay.
Well, he beat a lot of
So
people last year.
he that was the only game that he won. Saquon won the rest of them. Okay. Let's just be clear about
I
that.
mean,
Saquon won
Saquon
the rest of them.
Saquon barely had over 1,000 yards last year. Let's relax on how great
And no.
Saquon
Let's
is.
relax on Daniel Jones.
Ain't
Okay.
nobody
Let's
putting
not
him in
say
his
that he's
top
been
10. No one's putting him in his top
what
10.
Greg Jennings is, but that's a different story. I'm just
Okay, well,
saying
I already
Baker
dealt
Mayfield,
with him.
yeah, Baker Mayfield is better than Daniel Jones. And so
Mm.
I'm going to pick Tampa Bay to win this game because I
Cool.
just don't trust Minnesota's defense. We need a pick
Okay,
that's an outlier. We need to
that's
disagree
fine.
at some points in the time, and I think this is a game for Baker to win. I
Mm-hmm.
think you're absolutely right. There are some concerns with this football team, but I think that Baker has proved in the preseason. I think this team has proven in the preseason that they can make some noise. They could be a good team, and I just don't trust Minnesota's defense. Period.
Yeah. Mm.
All right, so next game, it's going to be New Orleans Saints versus the Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna go with New Orleans. Again, I like Derek Carr. I think that he's gonna have a bounce back year. I think with Dennis Allen taking care of that defense and them being studs, you have a healthy Michael Thomas, you have Chris Olave, and then you have Williams filling in for Kamara, who has been suspended. I think that that's still a really, really good team, and I'm excited for what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, I always think that Tennessee they're well coached with Vrabel, but it again, if New Orleans has a great defense, so that's already something they have over you. Derek Carr is a way better quarterback. Your weapons are way better. The only thing that it's a question mark for me is Williams, because he's more of a short yardage type of back,
Power back. Yeah.
and kind of him carrying the load for Alvin Kamara. I and this is just me speaking as a guy who hasn't really watched Williams a whole lot.
Hmm.
Um, that's just a question mark. But for me, Derek Carr is way better than Tannehill, and he's got better weapons. So I'm going to also take New Orleans in this game.
Yeah. All right. So next game, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the San Francisco 49ers. As
Mm.
much as I love Kenny Pickett and I think that
Yep,
they're going to be great this year, man, you're going against the San Francisco defense and they're studs. I think Brock Purdy is going to continue to have an amazing career and he's going to have an amazing season now that he's going to be the starter for the entire season. So I pick the San Francisco 49ers to win this game.
I do too. But I also agree with you. I think Pickett and the Steelers are gonna have they're gonna bounce back, have a good season, be competitive in the AFC. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, they're gonna run into San Francisco week 1.
Yeah, and I think heading into the next game, I think the Commanders and Sam Howell they will beat Arizona. This is just a pretty quick game. I feel like we don't have to talk about this one
Yeah, I agree.
unless you
Yeah.
think that Arizona is going to win. I don't even know who their
No.
starter is. I don't even know who their starter is.
Oh, is Kyler Murray still hurt?
Kyler Murray is going to be out. He's on the pup list.
Okay.
He's going to be out for at least the next
Yeah.
4 weeks. And then they released Colt McCoy, their backup. So I don't
I
even
mean,
know who their starter is.
look what Sam Howell did against the Cowboys defense. That's all you need to know.
Yeah,
Could it be an aberration? Maybe, but
maybe. I
we're
think it
about to
will
find
be.
out. But I don't
Yeah.
think we'll find that in Arizona.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Here's the game that I'm really interested in: Jordan
I
Love
am
versus
too.
Justin Fields.
I'm excited about that one. That one's very. I love that.
Yeah, who do you think is going to win this game?
Uh, I'm gonna go with Green Bay
Me too.
because I like their defense a lot better.
Hmm.
Not to say that Justin Fields won't have a good game, because I believe he will. I just like the 1-2 punch of Aaron Jones and Dylan. I think they're going to
Hmm.
rely heavily on that.
Yeah,
And I think that's what's going to keep the ball out of Justin Fields' hands. And Jordan Love has proved that he can pick apart a defense. He's proved that.
hmm
Um, so yeah, I just think the team of Green Bay is better than Chicago right now. And so
yeah,
I'm gonna take Green Bay, but I'm expecting Justin Fields to also play well.
yeah. I understand that. I oof. This may be biased, but I have Justin Fields as my quarterback in my superstar mode on Madden 24. He sucks. He's awful. He's terrible. Missing wide open receivers. We're 4-6 because of the brother. Um, so I believe that Jordan Love is a better quarterback than Justin Fields.
Mhm.
I think, especially with being in that offense, he's just more experienced. I think Justin Fields will be good. It's just going to take him a little bit of time to get used to it. And I don't
Mhm.
think that Green Bay is going to be a great first test for him. And Jordan Love, he's just looked really good in the preseason. I've been really impressed in seeing him. I think the game against Carolina for Justin Fields, you threw 3 passes, all of like 2 of them were behind the line of scrimmage, and your receivers did the work.
Yeah.
Like, good job for getting the ball to them, but
Well,
it's really
they were
not what this is
designed
about.
to be that way, but
Right. But I just trust Jordan Love more. I need to see more from Justin Fields as a thrower of the football. So
mhm.
I'm going to go with Jordan Love in this game. Next, Jimmy G versus Russell Wilson. Las Vegas Raiders versus the Denver Broncos. I'm gonna go with Jimmy G here. He's more proven. He's reunited with Josh McDaniels. I just there's too many question marks about Russell Wilson. And
Mm.
so I'm just gonna go with what I know. And what I know is that Jimmy G, he can win you games in the regular season. He can command an offense. Josh Jacobs is back in the backfield. You got Devontae Adams there as well. I just like this team a whole lot more than Denver.
I'm gonna make this pick just for the heck of it. I'm going with Denver. Their defense, I believe, is way better than the Raiders. And I think, and I'm hoping Sean Payton will have not completely fixed Russell Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
but get him to a point where, hey, you're not costing your team games.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go with Denver to be better this season. I'm gonna continue to trust that the defense will continue to be what they were last year. They
Right.
weren't they if you actually looked at it, like for what Russell Wilson was not,
Mm.
they did a pretty good job kind of staying competitive in all those games, no matter what had happened. And they had the Baker Mayfield covering them up type thing, but Russell Wilson was kind of giving it away and not really doing anything. And so I think I think if Russell can just be some semblance of what he was in Seattle, even what he was in
Mm.
Seattle the last
Mm-hmm.
year, I think they'll win the game.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely not. Sorry, absolutely not. I don't think that Russell has developed enough in the offseason. Especially, I mean, we're talking about playing against second stringers in Arizona
Mm-hmm.
and how long they had to stay out there just to score a touchdown. I just think there's a lot more work for them to do. And for some reason, that offensive line is just not good. And even against this bad Raiders team, they're going to get to Russell Wilson, unfortunately. And so that's why I'm going with Las Vegas. But here's the game. You know, I'm ready to talk about Tua versus Herbert. Who wins this game and why?
This one's a tough one too. I just think, man, this one's difficult. I'm gonna go with Justin Herbert,
Mm,
and this is more of a if I'm them, this is why I want to win this game. The last game that you played, you guys gave up a 27-point lead. The last thing that you want to do is lose your opener game at home, no less. And I know what Miami is. They have a great, great offense. But as the Chargers, you need to win this game. You have to win this game. You gave up a 27-point lead in a playoff game. And not only that, you got a new offensive coordinator who's supposed to be a genius. So you better win this game. Or you're going to have a bunch of angry fans who are just going to crucify you guys for the next month against a quarterback who people believe is fragile. You have Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. They're both healthy again. Go win the game. So I'm going to take LA because they have to win.
mm.
They have to win.
I agree with you that they have to win this game, but they're not going to win this game. I think Kellen Moore is going to be exposed for the offense coordinator that he is, because here's the thing: he's going to be in a shootout with Mike McDaniels.
He's got to
So,
call it. He's got to call it
so
great.
he's got to call it. And I just don't trust Kellen Moore to call these plays. And again, I'm not sold on Justin Herbert. I mean,
Mm.
he's great for putting up stats. He's got a talented arm, but he's done nothing of significance, and he got paid the bag. So I agree with you. He has to win this game. He's just
They
not
have
going
to.
to. I
I
think
think
I think Miami, they just have a better offense. They have a better defense. I get it. You have Khalil Mack and you have Joey Bosa, but
J.C.
overall,
Jackson.
Miami just has a better defense. Just overall, even with losing
They just
Jalen
play more
Ramsey on their
consistently.
side, they
Mm-hmm.
play more consistently across the board. And I think the coach McCoy, or no, is it Staley? Brandon Staley is still the coach for the Chargers. So nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. His career has with the Chargers has been giving up games, has been losing close games. You add a Kellen Moore into that, it's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion, for the Los Angeles Chargers. So I'm going with Miami. I think they're going to win this game. Tua has learned how to fall, guys. Tua has learned how to fall, and so I don't think that he's going to get hurt this year.
Hmm.
We may have to come back to this clip later on in the year if that happens.
Yeah.
I'm knocking on wood, but
Yeah.
I don't think that he's going to get hurt. And I'm excited for what this offense is going to be. I think Miami is going to, again, I think I picked Miami to win the division.
Yeah.
So they have to win this game, and I think that they will.
Cool.
So now we have, I think this is a pretty easy game. Philadelphia versus the Patriots. I think that Mac Jones is going to have a better year than last year because it couldn't get worse, but it's Jalen Hurts. It's this offense. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's this defense who's going against a pretty easy Patriots team. So
I
I
agree.
expect Philadelphia to win this game and to win it convincingly.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. This is going to be a pretty convincing victory.
Next game you have is Geno Smith versus Matthew Stafford, Seattle versus Los Angeles against the Rams. Again, to me, this is pretty simple. Seattle's going to win this game. They have a great defense. Kenneth Walker is healthy. Geno Smith is in his second year. DK Lockett. Then you got the rookie from Ohio State at receiver in the slot.
He's from Rockwall, Texas.
He is from Rockwall, Texas. So we're rooting for him and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time,
I agree. They have a great receiving core. Their running game is back intact. Their defense is a lot better. And we don't know what Matthew Stafford will be, coming off the injury. Like, we don't know. And so I think I'm with you. I think this one's pretty easy. Seattle will win this game.
I think this will be a tough game still because, I give them a shot. I give the Rams a shot because of Sean McVay. But, there's just a lot of question marks on this team. And so you just can't guarantee anything. And now we have the game. Again, it's an easy game. Dallas versus New York. Cowboys are winning this game. They're just winning this game.
Yeah, they'll win this game. I think you've made it clear, like you made your point with Philly. Like, in the past, we've owned Philly. No. You said we've owned the Giants. We've
owned the Giants.
We've owned the Giants ever since Dak
the Cowboys
came
have
into the
not
league.
lost. Yeah, the Cowboys have not lost to the Giants since Dak's rookie year, when New York beat us twice. Oh
yeah, that's right.
They
Yeah,
beat us.
after
They beat us twice. There
the
were
opener,
2 of Dak's 3 losses in the regular season. Well,
Mhm.
his only 2
Yeah.
losses in the regular season because he didn't play against Philly.
Yeah,
Or he
I
did,
agree.
but he was in for like 1 series and it didn't
Right.
really count.
And so I think he's just going to continue that trend.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it will be more competitive than you're leading on, but we'll see.
Yeah, it could be, but I just don't. It's Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones is going to give us 2 to 3 different opportunities to take the ball over, and we're going to do it. So, yeah, to me, this is a pretty easy game. Giants, get a real quarterback, and then let's talk.
Wow.
But
Okay.
but you don't have one.
He's not terrible.
He's not good.
He's
not
good. He's good.
He's
He's
being
just not.
carried. He's being carried. Brian Daboll will go farther with a different quarterback
Well,
for
yeah.
sure.
Well, yeah, because he's not a top 10 quarterback.
But I
But
think
he
Daniel Jones, what he's shown you against Minnesota, that's the best that he can ever be. He can't be better than that. Just can't.
well,
Just doesn't
well,
have the talent. Just doesn't.
well, yeah, I can say the same about Dak.
No, you can't. Stop
Yes, I
it.
can.
Stop it.
Yes, I
No, you
can.
can't.
Yes, I
Stop it.
can. Yes, I
No, you
can.
can't. No. Daniel Jones will never get a Pro Bowl. Let's just stop it. He'll
Okay,
never get a Pro Bowl.
Pro Bowls to me are worthless. They're worthless at this point. They're worthless.
Something but here's the thing. He can't even get that. He can't even get that. He can't even get a Pro Bowl.
I
He's
don't
not going
care.
to even get a vote.
I don't
He's not
care
even
about
get a
Pro
vote.
Bowls. That's a
It
terrible.
means
That's a
it means a little bit, and the fact
no.
that
It
Daniel
doesn't.
Jones can't even get that.
No, it doesn't.
Even Tyler
Because
Huntley can get a Pro Bowl. Daniel
that's
Jones
what
cannot
makes
get.
that's what makes it ridiculous.
But
That
listen,
you
Daniel
just
Jones
made
is
my
not even
point.
better than Tyler Huntley.
You just made my point. He's better than Tyler
I'm
Huntley.
no, he's not.
Yes,
Mm-mm,
he is.
he's
He is
not.
better than
No,
Tyler
can't even
Huntley.
get a Pro Bowl. Can't even get a Pro Bowl.
Tyler
Anyway,
Huntley can't even get a job. Can't even get a starting.
well,
There's jobs. There was jobs available. Couldn't get signed for that.
I don't listen. I think that if Daniel Jones was on the market, no one would pick him up. So he's
Well,
in the same boat as Tyler Huntley.
well, he just got $40 million. Tyler Huntley is still a backup.
Exactly. The
Just to let
Giants
you know.
are idiots. And
Well,
I'd never say idiots. So I'm sorry for saying that on the show, but they are dumb. They're dumb for keeping Daniel Jones and for paying him that money, not giving that money to Saquon, who actually deserves that money. That's just me. Anyway,
you know the
we're not talking about
landscape.
Daniel Jones.
You know the landscape of the NFL. You don't pay a running back.
Well, and they shouldn't pay Daniel Jones. That should be another landscape in the NFL as well.
Okay.
But we have Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers on Monday night. This is to me, this is one of the biggest games of the year because there's a lot of pressure on both teams. I mean, you have Josh Allen, who they're jumping off the bandwagon with Buffalo. I mean,
Yep.
You have Aaron Rodgers, who people are saying is over the hill. Like he's not elite anymore. He's not good anymore. So this one's to me is probably the toughest pick for me. I'm going to go with Josh Allen. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills.
They've
It has
proven
nothing to do
they've
with
proven
the Jets
more.
defense. They have proven
No.
more.
I don't know what Aaron Rodgers in this offense is going to look like. We just don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I can't. And like you said, there's people who think that Aaron Rodgers are over the hill. I may be one of those people. I don't know.
I'm on the fence. I don't know.
I'm on the
I don't know.
fence. I'm on the fence.
Yeah.
What I saw last year did not bode well, for my opinion, on Aaron Rodgers. And
Mhm.
until he proves to me otherwise,
Hmm.
I'm sticking with it. And
Yeah.
so, is he still a talented thrower of the football? Absolutely, he is. But will he do that with the Jets? That remains to be seen. And until I see it,
Mm.
I'm going to go to what's been proven. And what's been
Mhm.
proven is Josh Allen is still a good quarterback, very athletic. This defense is still good, still elite. And so I'm going to stick with Buffalo right now until
Mhm.
Aaron Rodgers and the Jets prove to me otherwise that, hey, pick them.
Mm.
So,
You know what? I'm going to change my pick. I'm going with the Jets because Buffalo last year, if the Jets would have had a competent quarterback, the Jets would have beaten Buffalo twice in the regular season. So I'm trusting. Again, we don't know the Aaron Rodgers that we're getting, but it's better than what they had last year.
sure.
And this defense is still full
But
of
is that
studs.
enough? But is
Their
that enough
defense-
for Buffalo, though?
Here's the thing. Like, Buffalo's defense is not elite. They're good. The Jets,
they're
defense
okay.
is elite. And when you have Josh Allen, who this is one of the thing I was going to say for Josh Allen, but now I think it's going to be against Josh Allen, is that Josh Allen, since he's entered the league, and especially last season, has led the league in turnovers. Now, in spite of that, they're still winning games. But I think against a competent quarterback, someone who I consider to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, according to my list that we went through, because he's a top 5 quarterback, Aaron Rodgers should win this game. And I think this team is good enough to win this game. I just have a lot of questions about Ken Dorsey, who's the offense coordinator with Buffalo, because Josh
He's
Allen
not
has
Brian Dable.
regressed.
Yep.
And so and the last time that Nathaniel Hackett, who's the OC with the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers were
I totally
together,
forgot about that.
he
Totally
won
forgot
an
about that.
MVP. So
I'm gonna stand
going
pat
with New
for
York.
I'm gonna stand pat for this week.
That's all right.
But I do see where you're headed with this, and I love it. I think that path of thinking is great. So yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna stand pat for this week, but I'm definitely taking heavily in consideration of what you're saying.
Yeah. So here's what's going to happen. So we're not going to have an episode on Monday, but we will for the most part. But this Monday, I'll be out of town. I'll be in Kansas City, so I won't be able to record or anything. So you'll hear our thoughts on the Cowboys and on the rest of the NFL.
Maybe I'll shoot an episode by myself and have some guests. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, you have complete freedom to do so. This is your show, not just my show. So you run it however you want. But at least I won't be here to cover the Cowboys on Monday. But I will be back on Wednesday as we preview week 2. You'll see how our picks did this upcoming week. See whether you disagree or agree with our points. We are here for the Daniel Jones slander. It's on.
He's ready. Here for it. I'm just gonna watch.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Double Take. We hope that you have a great weekend of watching football as the NFL is now back. But until next time, for Daniel, this is David for Double Take. God bless.
We'll see y'all.